Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Massage Unwrapped. I'm your host, Linda Roysam, and joining me today talking about Lomi Lomi is Gloria Coppola. Gloria has been in the healing arts for almost 25 years. She's the former owner of a massage school and a curriculum writer for several schools across the U.S., as well as providing continuing education for massage therapists at Massage Pro CE. Gloria lived and trained on Kauai in Lomi Lomi and offered classes on the island as well as the mainland. This year she will go international with her teaching in Paris, France. Her passion is massage and teaching. She loves to travel, listen to music, and write. She also creates mini video educational clips for massage students that can be found on YouTube. You can find her teaching at the American Massage Conference this year and also at the World Massage Festival, where she will be inducted into the Massage Hall of Fame. Welcome, Gloria, to the show.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for being here. I'm very excited to learn about Lomi Lomi. I think that when I was in Hawaii a couple of years ago, I had a massage on the beach, and I think she incorporated a little bit. I don't think it was the full Lomi Lomi session, but I think she incorporated a little bit about it. So I'm very excited to learn exactly what is Lomi Lomi massage.
Well, I'm excited to tell you.
Okay, cool. So let's start right off. Can you just tell us about what Lomi Lomi is, a little bit about the history, and also what additional education a massage therapist has to go through in order to become a Lomi Lomi practitioner?
Okay, I will do my best. Okay, Lomi Lomi traditionally is described as loving, compassionate touch. And Auntie Margaret Mikado from the Big Island was the very first Hawaiian to receive her massage license and decide to pass on this type of body work to everybody who wanted to learn it. Each island, or ohana, meaning family, has different lineages, and therefore you might see different varieties of Lomi Lomi. For instance, Auntie Margaret had a certain style, which was a little more clinical, similar to Swedish, but she brought in a lot of her religious belief systems from the Christians in there, so there's a lot of teachings along with that, okay? Some of the other islands, for example, on Kauai, Kahu Abraham, he decided to go a little bit more ancient and call it more psycho-spiritual type of work, or temple-style Lomi Lomi, which has become very, very popular because of those long, flowing, beautiful strokes. But it's more than technique. Each Lomi practitioner always begins with what we call pule, which is prayer. And we are trained in our trainings. We go through a whole series of learning how to get deeper in touch with ourselves, deeper in touch with our spirituality, so that when we're coming to the table, we are already preparing prior to that to be in the right space, to be more intuitive, to call upon divine spirit or whatever your belief system is, God, and to ask for the ancestors, the amakula, to help us, to guide us, because we don't come from ego in this work. We come strictly from heart and intuition. Mm-hmm. And so trainings vary as well. You'll find trainings, there's some trainings out there that are just weekends, and those are truly just introductions, okay? That's kind of like wetting your whistle. And then there's more intensive trainings. And many of us actually take trainings over and over again. And I get students saying, well, why would I want to take the same class twice? Well, you'd be surprised, because every class is different, because number one, the dynamics is different. Every student has different needs. So you learn how to work with people as if that was your client. So whatever issues come up, that's what we're going to address. Something else that's included in Lomi Lomi is the art of ho'oponopono. And the Hawaiians believe that illness and disease comes from holding emotional things in our body unresolved. So our issues are in our tissues. We go through trainings where we have to learn conflict resolution techniques so that we can bring our clients to a place of forgiveness and allow them to release those issues in their tissues. So, when I talk to students and they want to know how long or where do I go for trainings, I always tell them, start out, see if this is going to be the modality for you, and then just continue whoever you resonate with, whatever style, whatever instructor, you're going to feel it, and eventually work your way to Hawaii, because there's something way more profound and different about studying on the islands of Hawaii and feeling that energy and that breath, that ha, the spirit and the life force.
And how long are your trainings when they're in Hawaii?
Well, we do a 10-day training there. It is called a Restorative Hawaiian Healing Training and Retreat. And so, and you don't have to be a massage therapist to learn Lomi Lomi. That's the beauty of this. It's great for couples who want to enhance the relationships and learn more communication skills. And in Hawaii, we get to go to some of the sacred sites and to be immersed in that energy. We learn some of the Hawaiian chants. We learn different movement exercises and dances that are so beneficial for what we're doing and necessary. What they do is they help us to get in touch with energy. They help us with the endurance for the sessions, because typically it could be about 2 hours for a session and sometimes more. Lomi Lomi also has a basis in martial arts called Lua. And so you might see us doing certain martial art techniques as well in order to get us in the right place, the right center, and to develop the right movements and techniques.
Now, why would somebody want to get a Lomi Lomi massage as opposed to another type of massage, say Swedish or deep tissue?
Well, Lomi Lomi practitioners, again, are in a space that is so finely adjusted and attuned, not only to provide you with a deep level of loving and compassionate touch, because most massage therapists come from their heart, but the essence of it, as I described it when I got my first one, it transcended time and space before the therapist even touched me. Mm-hmm. It chanted over my body, and all of a sudden I was just like elevated to this new space. And it took me to depths in my own body of greater ease and relaxation. Some therapists, and I myself too have been trained in a lot of, specific deep tissue type of techniques. But with Lomi, we wait for the body to open and receive the work. We're not thinking about, I need to go in here and release these muscles a specific way and just go for it. We're waiting for the body to say, yes, I welcome you. Now you can apply these techniques. So some people think, Lomi is just soft and fluffy and light, and it's not. It's very therapeutic. Recently, I gave a Lomi Lomi session to one of my students. We did an exchange, and I did her session later at night, and she began to go into a very, very deep place of altered state. And at first I thought, well, maybe she's just sleeping, Well, she slept at my house that night. Good thing. She wouldn't have been able to drive home. She fell asleep. She woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning realizing that, oh my gosh, this is over, when she still thought my hands were connected and on her and working on her. Wow. She then has shared with me the profound healing that she went through in that altered states for hours. So it's a very, very powerful modality, and it could be as simple as deep relaxation. It could be very therapeutic, and it can be transformational.
Are there any contraindications, a time when somebody wouldn't want to have Lomi Lomi massage?
Well, Linda, it's the same thing as regular massage. So if somebody's had a recent injury, obviously we don't go in right on them. If they have a high fever, we might be avoiding Lomi Lomi at that moment. So the typical contraindications and the endangerment types of things that we learn in massage school is similar. However, traditionally Lomi Lomi involved more than just the body work. So the Kahuna Lomi Lomi actually, upon evaluation, was not only taking your history like we typically do, but they were paying attention to everything. They're observing you, how you move in your body. They're listening to the tone in your voices. They're listening to many, many things on many levels. And then what they would do is prescribe, perhaps, let's say, herbal remedies to detoxify you, or a session of Ho'oponopono. They would counsel you with perhaps someone that you have an issue with that's unresolved. And after all of that, then you come to the table. And in massage, we're moving circulation through and we're moving toxins through. So at that point, if you've been on these herbs and you've cleared out things in your body and you've cleared out things emotionally through Ho'oponopono, then you come to the table and the rest of that process takes place. And you're supported through the nurturing touch as well through all of it.
Okay, and I know that you've just mentioned a little bit about it, but I was going to ask, what does a typical session look like? I remember earlier you mentioned that a session could last like 2 hours. What do you do?
Okay. Well, traditionally, Kahuna Lomi Lomi might spend 15 minutes with you and do more of like a chiropractic adjustment if that's what they were trained in. But nowadays, it looks more like the massage. And so typically a session is approximately 2 hours. Although, again, traditionally, the kahuna might take all day long with you, depending on what was involved in the process. But we don't have that kind of time here in our Western culture. So you'll find that we'll usually schedule a 2-hour session, and we'll do a little intake with you, and again, find out what's going on. Each practitioner, because of their style, it might look a little different. For example, I like to start out with a foot cleanse and a salt scrub. And there's so much going on the feet that, we can open up, reflex points, and we've got thousands of nerve endings down there. And the feet are considered very, very sacred, because we stand on them all the time and they support us. So during that period of time is when I'll be observing and listening to my client. And then, I'll leave the room so that they can, get dressed, undressed and get on the massage table. And most of us that are trained in temple style will spend probably about 20 minutes or so just doing very long, relaxing downward strokes. All massage is stimulating. The first touch is stimulating. And so many of us have so much stress and tension and pain in our body that the last thing we need is a lot of stimulation coming in. So we spend those first 20 minutes or so to get that nervous system to calm down. And it takes about that long. If you think about the massages even maybe you've received, when do you finally get out of your head? It's usually about half an hour into the session. You're like, oh, okay, now I can sink into this. So that's one of the things that you might experience depending, again, on the training of your practitioner. And then, while we're doing that, we're paying attention to the energy in your body. We're intuiting what your body needs. You might find that we're doing a lot of range of motion and stretches as well with the body. We might be applying acupressure points. Some of us have some of the trainings look like more like Thai massage. And so you'll see that kind of a modality happening. And, if somebody needs deep tissue types of techniques, including like neuromuscular or myofascial, if the body is asking and ready to receive it, then that's what's going to be applied. So, we're really, really heightening our senses to listen to that client's body. So we'll spend approximately an hour on the back, and then we'll turn them over and spend an hour on the front. Now, the difference with temple style versus the Auntie Margaret style, temple style practitioners sometimes will take off the bottom sheet. And so the hands are actually going under and over your body at the same time. And it gives you an experience of like more than one therapist working on you. And also because there's no sheet on the table and you've got the coconut oil, all lubricated on your back, we could be feeling and intuiting your body like where it wants to move, and it might begin to glide over to one side, and you get these deep, deep stretches all the way up the side of your body that, feel different in our body than just us pushing somebody into a stretch. So again, it depends on the type of practitioner, their training background, and exactly what that session is going to look like. But it's a beautiful, complete session. Clients walk off, like really kind of floating and dizzy. When I was on Kauai in September, I went to Auntie Angeline's and got my Lomi Lomi. And what they do is they start you out in the steam hut because that's tradition, to go in and get a steam. Then the therapist comes in and she gets the Hawaiian salts and clays and she exfoliates your body while they're chanting prayers over you. So it's like, oh, wow, you're already in bliss. Then you go shower the salts off. You go in to get your treatment. There's 2 Lomi practitioners working on you. So it's a 4-handed massage that lasts about an hour after you've done the steam and the salt. And I had 2 Hawaiian elders working on me, and I'm paying attention to what they're doing, thinking, oh, I'm going to learn a new technique. Here I teach my students it's not about technique. So what am I doing? Looking for technique. And there really wasn't anything different. But when I got up off that table, Linda, for 6 hours or more, and I kid you not, it was like I was drunk. I could not even drive. I had to give the keys to my assistant to take us to the stores that we needed to go to prepare for our trainings because I was just floating and in bliss. So it is just amazing. Wherever you get it, whoever you get it by, it's going to be your own unique experience. And I think that's what makes it different.
Well, it sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Auntie Margaret style as opposed to the temple style. Can you just clarify what that is too, and which one do you teach?
Okay, Auntie Margaret, there's more draping involved. Okay, with temple style, they use more limited draping. And so if you're a little modest, you might want to ask for that. Although temple style therapists will also modestly cover you, especially if you're cold too. So we adapt to that. Auntie Margaret, you'll see again a lot more of the Swedish style techniques, okay? And again, the base foundation is the pulle. I was trained originally in temple style. I have since trained in Auntie Margaret style. I have mentored under several different, kahunas and learned different things that they're doing. And take that in too, depending on what my client needs. Like each time I hold a training over in Kauai, I have invited a different kumu, which means teacher, from the Hawaiians background, and they bring their own expertise, whatever that may be. So like we had Kumu Dane Silver from the Big Island come over last year, and his background's in Lua, the martial arts. And so he talked about that and creating lokahi, which is the balance in your life, okay? Kumu Brenda Ignacio from Oahu, her expertise is ho'oponopono. And so she talked about that amongst many other things. And she's a hula kumu. So we got to learn hula, which is also part of this for many of us, because again, it's a discipline for us to learn. And I got to tell you, I'm really bad. When I lived in Kauai, I kept looking for hula schools, which are called halaus. And I thought, oh my gosh, they don't know how to teach. What I didn't realize is the new one goes to the back of the line and everything is learned through observation. And so that is an amazing discipline that you'll see a lot of Lomi practitioners learn, because then that comes into your body work, that observation skill, and also the moves to get around the table work along with those hula steps. So all of the teachers bring something like that to the table. You won't see as much as the long flowing strokes in Auntie Margaret style as you will in the temple style.
Okay. And I believe that you have a little clip for us about the basics of Lomi Lomi.
Yeah, I did a small little clip, just a little demo that people can see exactly what I'm doing, and I'll describe it a little bit during the way. It's longer than I think you're going to actually show, but it'll give people a little taste of what Lomi is about.
Okay, we'll just take a look at that now then.
Great.
Okay, it looks like you are wearing like a Hawaiian sarong. Is that typical for as a Lomi practitioner?
Some do, and it just makes it easier, especially in the temple style, because we're working with coconut oil and, we're getting very close with our client, very in intimate spaces. Sometimes we're actually holding them and hugging them if they're going through an emotional release. And so we don't want to get the oils on our clothes. So it's easier to get the sarongs and use those. They wash up easier, or you can dispose of them after they've gotten a little oily. I also place a sarong on the table when I have a Lomi session, and it just makes for the ambiance to feel nicer for clients as well, like they're in Hawaii. And I gift that to them instead of the business card. The sarong is the business card, and people love that. Also, underneath the face cradle, what I'll do is get maybe some fresh flowers or make some kind of arrangement and put it under the face cradle. So when they're looking down and then they open their eyes, they'll actually look at this beautiful array of flowers or whatever I decide to put down there instead of looking at a floor or a carpet.
Oh, excellent. And I noticed that you were doing the long flowing arms.
That was more of the temple style.
Way.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned coconut oil. Is there a significance behind using that type of oil?
That's what was available. Coconut and kukui type of oils. That's what was available on the islands, and they're very natural. They're very emollient for the skin, and they're very healthy for your skin. So that was the choice. If a client doesn't like oil, I'll use massage cream. I'll get a good, nice organic massage cream and use that as well. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I remember.
The other thing, I'm sorry. The other thing too I want to mention is that hot stones are also part of Lomi Lomi, because that's where it originated. Think about your lava stones.
Right.
And what the ancient ones would do is put the stones out in the sun for about 45 minutes. They'd heat up. Then they might take some of the medicinal plants, let's say like noni, wrap it around the stone, place it on the body. The medicine then would come out through that steam. And then they'll take the stones too, as well as the salts, and work the body depending on what the client needs.
So that would be incorporated in the beginning of the session before the long.
Depends. It just depends on what the client's asking for, what the client needs, what availability the practitioner has, and what training they've had in all of this.
Okay, so some people, some massage therapists or other people may not have been trained with the hot stone portion of it.
Right. Like this year in our training in May, I have Kumu Karen Carroll coming over from Oahu, and she's going to train us with the seashells. Oh. And she's got a little video clip on YouTube actually where she talks about the different shapes of the shells are shaped according to different organs in our bodies. And so the shells represent those different organs, and you will use them to work moving energy in or out. So I'm excited to learn that from her.
Excellent. Do you think that you could send me the link to that?
The link?
And I'll put it.
Yeah.
I'll post it.
Yeah, I'll find that link and get it to you.
Excellent. Now, how long have you been practicing Lomi Lomi?
Well, I've been practicing Lomi Lomi about 12 years now. I started Lomi Lomi. I wasn't going to go take Lomi Lomi. Lomi Lomi called me, and that's usually what happens. I'd already been a massage therapist for over 15 years already. But it called me when I was on the islands, and as a result of my first session of getting that feeling of that transcending time and space, really taught me that although I knew a lot of techniques, there was still something more that could be brought to the table. And so I probably took over 2 years of just immersing myself, not only in the techniques, but learning more about the culture, because that's a huge part of this. And I was privileged to spend time with, a Hawaiian family and the kumu and really get immersed in all of that. And if I didn't have that, I think I would have been missing a little something. So I feel blessed to have been part of that and some of their ceremonies. And to this day, 12 years later, I am still fascinated. I am still learning and understanding and growing with this modality. And I think the indigenous people have so much to teach us.
In your 12 years of practicing Lomi Lomi, what client stands out? I know you don't have to tell us because of confidentiality, but don't give specifics if you think it will give that away. But what was your greatest success with Lomi Lomi? What kind of condition did the client have, and how long did it take for them to get results?
Oh my gosh, Linda, I've seen people come off the table with all kinds of results, either immediate or several days later.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the most profound ones aren't on a physical level, because everybody comes off feeling just amazing. I think the most profound ones is when people emotionally and spiritually connect with something that moves them past the blockage that changes their life.
Great. And so it can be immediate just in that one session?
Yes.
Great. Now, I know that this next question is going to be based on the particular area that everybody's in, but what is a typical price range for receiving a Lomi Lomi massage?
Okay, good question. Yeah, it does have to do with their geographics. And what most of us do, because it's a 2-hour session typically, is just double our hourly rate. And that's usually where it's about. So you might see 120, 150. You might see it as high as 200 in some places. It depends on what skill level they have, what other things they're bringing into it. For me, I don't get outrageous with my pricing. I have been fortunate in my life to feel that this is truly a gift, that we get to touch another. And for me, although I have to make a living, it's not about the money. So, I don't go crazy with fees. I'll double my fee, but, I've seen some people charge even $300, and that just doesn't make it affordable for everybody. But if they can get it, good for them.
Now, is that $300 price range, or even the $200 one you mentioned, is that more like a spa type price, or is that individual massage therapists charging that as well?
I've seen it mostly in spas being higher, and the thing that I've noticed too that has been feedback to me from clients is that they don't get the same experience. And the reason is, they're in a different environment. There's different belief systems. They may not have access to all the tools. They may be, being told by their company, this is what we can or cannot do. And so, those of us that do more traditionally, we might be chanting over your body a Hawaiian prayer, whereas in a spa, you may not get that same experience. And, Felicia Brown, she interviewed me for the American Massage Conference, and she said that she had it at a spa in Jamaica. And after talking to me, she goes, wow, I feel gypped. Like I didn't get everything that I was explaining to her. So, spa experiences are wonderful, and we pay for the ambiance, of course. And but it may not be a traditional session.
Yeah, and I think I told you earlier that I had one too when I was in Hawaii, but I don't remember them doing the prayers, and so that's why I think she just incorporated a few of the massage techniques. So that's why I said I don't think it was really a Lomi Lomi session. She just included some Lomi Lomi techniques or strokes, if you will. And yeah. I think it was because it was at a spa type situation, as opposed to going to an individual massage therapist who has control of their business.
Right. You have control over your environment and what you want to bring to it. And for some, it's difficult and challenging to learn the Hawaiian language and the chants. I got to tell you, it took me years to learn it. So, we might be doing a Lomi Lomi, but not saying things in Hawaiian just yet because we're still learning. Everything is a process. It's not a quick thing like we do here. Everything takes years and years of mastering before we bring it to the table. So if I was to sing my chant to you when I first learned it, it would not have the same value and meaning behind every single vowel and the energy it brings to it. And so I don't share that with you until, it's really in my heart and soul.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how long it took you to say all of those names.
I can tell you, the chant seriously took me probably 5 years, and some people might be saying, oh my God, but those that are Hawaiian understand that, it's a skill, and because I'm challenged with other languages, it probably took me a little bit longer.
Okay. Now, how can somebody get in touch with you if you're in North Carolina, if somebody wants to get a session from you?
Okay, they can email me at massageproce@gmail.com. And I also have a website, Lomi Lomi MassageCE.com, where there's information about my trainings and my phone number. And, I take sessions rarely now, but I still do take them. I'm mostly teaching, but I have a plethora of practitioners former students and colleagues of mine who have students that if you're looking for somebody even outside North Carolina, perhaps I can help find you somebody that's good.
Okay, yeah, that was my next question. If somebody wasn't in North Carolina, is there like a national directory?
There is the Hawaiian Lomi Lomi Association, also your National Certification Board. You know, if you go on their site, often massage therapists will list the different skills they have, and you might see that they have Lomi Lomi. What I would ask your Lomi practitioner, though, is how much training you've done, because unfortunately, Linda, I have met people that have it on their business cards, and I'm like, oh, where did you go for training? I get all excited because I think I have an exchange partner. Oh, I saw it in school. It was really easy, and so I can do that. And they don't get it's not just one technique with the forearms. There is so much more involved. So it's important to ask your Lomi practitioner, where did you go for your training perhaps, or how long was your training, you know, and how long have you been practicing? Because if you're really looking for the full experience, you don't want somebody who took a weekend workshop.
Right. So you want somebody who's had, I think you said you teach a 5-day class?
Yep. I teach a 5-day intensive class, okay. You know, and it gives you the full body session and a lot of the principles we work with and some of the movements, one of the ancient dances we learn, you know, and students are always surprised. They think it's going to be easy, and then they get to the table and they try to combine the movements in the body for your body mechanics for safety and ease with the techniques and the intention and the observation and awareness, and they fall apart. And they're like, oh my God, this is so hard. So it takes, you know, 5 days to maybe, you know, learn some of it, but it takes a lot longer to master it.
Okay, and how long would you say that it takes to, I know you were in Hawaii for 2 years, did it take every bit of that time, or did you feel comfortable with it after a few months and then just kind of gradually adding more things?
I really got comfortable with all of it in about 2 years. Okay. And we all learn differently. For me, whenever I take modality, this is me, okay? It's not everybody, it's me. Mm-hmm. I like to master things. I'm not somebody, I may practice on you, but I'm not going to offer it as a paying session until I really feel comfortable and know that it's being done at the level that I want to experience it to. So that's me. Well, but I would say 2 years. I see that even with my students, like when they come back and they take trainings over and over again, each time they'll tell me, wow, Gloria, I just got another piece that I was missing. And they're like, I feel like I have to start over again in a sense, you know, to get to another level and depth of the work.
Well, excellent. Well, I want to thank you for being with us today on Massage Unwrapped. Until next time, I'm Linda Roysum.
Thank you, Linda. Aloha.